Welcome, race fans, to tonight's premier event for the GC Sports. I am your narrator, Alexander Ned. So glad you could join us this Thursday for a season opener right here on NASCAR Heat 5. I am going to be joined in a minute by another Pro League racing competitor that is familiar with this group, but I just want to um, introduce myself. Alexander Ned. So glad I could bring you guys tonight's coverage here on this very special night. This is the season opener, the A main for these guys at Kansas Motor Speedway. We are getting started now. I've called this the GC Sports 200, so we are going to be at a mile and a half track. Not typical for a season opener. Normally we talk about the big and glitz and glimmer of super speedway racing, but tonight we'll explain why we were at Kansas, and I've actually just been joined in the booth by my other competitor that will be calling the race with me, Ward Burton. Ward Burton, we actually haven't officially met, so glad to hear you and to have you here on board, but we should be in for quite a race here tonight.
And is, really trying to mix up the strategy, mix up the line. B group for custom. We saw Auto Club, which was a little bit of a different strategy, obviously multi-group strategy. But as the race continued to progress, we saw guys really try to find themselves in that right place, right time to make a strike on the lead. And yesterday we saw Private Patton go on, final lap, make a great move on the outside to go around the 22 for a win. Here at Kansas, it's not necessarily easy to go on the bottom and make a pass, but if you could set yourself up right place, right time, turn 3 to send a dive bomb and clear the guy in front of you, got a chance to win a race. So I'm eager to see how a lot of these guys played here tonight.
Oh, I think Dale Jr. might have heard you there with the slide job. I heard that in the distant wind, faintly, when we're talking about moves such as what we see with dive bombing here at Kansas and what we've seen out of the tracks like Chicagoland, which is very similar to this racetrack. We are just now joining this race in progress. DK Brown, the 53 car, was able to start on pole. They have entered turn number 2 and down the backstretch. 11 drivers here tonight in 134 laps here at Kansas Motor Speedway. One chance to win the season opener for bragging rights. You definitely know these guys are all going to be getting it here tonight, and we're seeing that already as 3 wide and a little bit of commotion there mid-pack with the 47 and the 43 side by side.
I'll tell you while I'm still loading in, 3x3, not a sight you necessarily want to see here at Kansas. Obviously you want to be up around the wall, but it's real easy to hit that seam on the bottom of the tracker as well in the middle with 3 and 4 and go spinning. But right now, DK Brown commanding the lead, and you see them continue to be 2x2 and even 3x3 further on back. Now they settle back to 2x2. But for the moment, the 53 guiding the 37. And I'll tell you what, too, these cars look real good under the lights. You get a chance to do some night races here in GC Sports. Gotta love them. This is one of those night tracks that really, really shine.
Right now, you're going to see that outside line really take form right now, and the frantic pace it is to try and get up to that outside lane. The 43 car, he had a look and some help from the 47 there. Unfortunately, he was unable to clear himself and get in that line, and he's actually fallen back all the way to 5th place, migrated behind that one car there. But we'll be talking about that high side just as you mentioned it there, Wood, about how much everybody is going to be using that line to their advantage. The 53 extremely high, and he's got a mirror full of that 37 car, who I'm not so sure is content to run second right now.
Indeed, he, for the moment, is very content to run right now, and that's Billy Holcomb sitting right behind DK Brown. But one thing to take note, too, as this race continues to progress on, obviously you see as they come off turn number 4, they'll really work their way down to the apron towards the bottom. But as these laps continue to count, as tires continue to get wasted more and more, we're going to start seeing guys progress up the racetrack, really trying to protect the high line into turns number 1 and 2. So for the moment, while these guys are all patient and content, I'd say give it about maybe 40, 50 laps further. We'll start seeing guys really staying above the apron and trying to protect the top as much as they can, especially the 53 DK Brown.
On board with the 37 as we ride heading to turn 1. You're going to be over 180 miles an hour before you see they try to ride that seam. The 37 car about a lane and a half lower than what we're seeing out of 62, trying to get some fresh air on the nose of that machine there. Driving that Ryan Preece car. Doing a great job there, holding along in the second position. And look at this freight train, well over 7 cars at least inside this lead pack. And something new for this game, you can control the draft. And I mention that because we are not with the normal draft here tonight here, Ward. We are actually on low draft. Oh, you saw the 53 actually nipped the wall just a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, and he almost hit it again coming off turn 2. But the thing about low draft is this. Obviously, there's a conception of, well, it just means, the draft is lower than normal. And it means you're not going to really be able to get draft off of a car. But that's actually a tad bit inaccurate. You see these guys about 7, 8 cars in line. They're all kind of minding their own business right now. All low draft really means is that the strength of a run is going to be a bit tougher to get. And really, if you're in a line, for example, you're going much higher speeds than normal draft, believe it or not, at a track like this. But you're able to kind of keep the draft bar, if that makes a bit of sense, in a pack. Basically, it's just more of a way of saying, hey, if you're a pack of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10, for example, like we had at Auto Club yesterday, where everyone's all grouped up together, you're not easily just going to be able to generate a run and stick right there the entire race. The more you get in line, the more things get spread out. It's going to be harder to generate runs, but you'll still be able to get drafted and get good runs. It's just not going to come as easier. And this low draft makes it real good for a track like this, because honestly, the normal draft in Kansas, drivers tend to be really on top of each other, even more than what we're seeing now, which, yes, to an aspect could create racing, but also could create a lot of chaos, especially in the center of these corners, where we tend to see a lot of chain reactions.
Yeah, we saw the 8 car actually poke on a line. That was P. Cola Gator. He actually went to the bottom there about a lap and a half ago there, and actually fell to the tail end of this lead pack. As we see, the 47 actually just nipped the wall, and had a little bit of accordion effect there, running nose to tail. That's actually going to check up some of the field, the progress made behind him. But these 8 cars now well in the draft have now put about a 3-second lead over 9th place. And so far, everyone very content using that high lane to their advantage there, trying to feel everything out while they can early in this race.
Yeah, and when you look at this group, by the way, that fast Marley just coming out of the pits, he's the only one right now to hit the pits. However, when I look at this field, obviously last season we saw a lot of clean driving, a lot of guys real content, and having an understanding. With this group being much smaller this season, you expect these guys to still continue that patience that they brought from last season, but be even more calculated. And you look at it right now, yeah, it's a single file line. Watch it from home, sure. Could the race get more exciting? Absolutely. But you have to remember, this is a long race. And with the fact of you may not have many opportunities to gain position right now, or even have a chance at a lead, rather, towards the long run, if I'm these guys, I continue to be content and let these laps continue to wind down before you start to make a move, as we see the 1 with a big slot job.
Trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack there. He's taken third and trouble in the corner. There it is. The 47 car hard into the outside wall. He takes along another competitor. And will that trigger the yellow flag for the first time here tonight? It does not. So a big stack up there out of turn number 2 that's jumbled more than half the field that was in that lead pack. And the big loser on that exchange, the 47 car, major front end, that's KB Showtime, who has to nurse that thing back home for stage 1.
Yeah, unfortunate circumstance there for KB Showtime. And honestly, what really happened there, Alex, was you looked at how they came off of turn number 2, and really, again, I mentioned the bottom. It's not an easy part to run at all. And obviously, we saw Mike RPM make a big move, a big slide job, but you started to get real loose, and the car likes to really run up the track, even if you're on the bottom. And needless to say, he lost the rear end a little bit, and that really caused him to go up the track, make contact, and try to almost force himself to clear the 47. That's where the contact led them into the safer barrier off turn 2, which, to our surprise, obviously no caution, but now becomes a 3-car pack for the lead and a second 3-car pack further on back. Let's see if this 18 can make up ground with this low draft. It's not going to be easy, but I think he's fast enough to do so.
Trying to make up right behind the 1 car, who in real life would be his brother, but those are two not teammates there. That's the 18 and the 8. You saw the 14, Flash 9, we were looking on board with him. He had actually just nipped the wall, so he's fallen a little bit outside of that top 5. The guy that I am most surprised about that didn't have any contact through all that was the 1 car. He was the first one that kind of set that whole chain of events in motion, perhaps, or made a big move as we see one of our leaders go down pit road. This is going to be a scheduled green flag pit stop. Flash 9 is in, and he'll be the first taker among the lead pack to go down pit road and get service here.
Indeed, Flash 9 going with the strategy. Now that should actually cycle him out to the lead once they go through this whole cycle. But you look at this pack continued on. It's about now 5 cars. You have GTR Pico Alligator who's trying to stay real hard to the edge of the 18, but Racehead kind of progressing. Here we go. Now we're starting to see it. Here comes Mike to the high side. Now he's going to get some help from the 37 for the moment. This is where I talked about protection. You're going to start seeing guys really start to protect the top here towards the end of this fuel run to try to, set up an orchestrated pit stop. But I know this one, obviously last season's champion in the B Series, he wants to get to the lead. He wants to control this race. And for Mike, he may think this is the time to go right now.
Currently right now with the 14 on pit road, it really didn't take any other of the lead pack on pit road currently. So we'll see how that cycles in. But that 1 car, as you had mentioned, he not afraid to bottom of the racetrack and make moves when he can right now. We are currently about halfway in stage 1 as more competitors make their way down pit road. That would be Taddy in the 51. He will also get service as well. And all these we expect perhaps to be 4-tire pit stops. I don't believe we're going to see people take 2, but we could be surprised. They started here 29 laps to go to get to the it's a full fuel window, excuse me, here with 38 laps in the stage 1. So I'd be hard pressed. These are custom race setups to see if anybody's going to go down with a 2-tire call. And we see a move right there made by the 53, Taddy's teammate there. We expect the 53 DK Brown to come in, and the 1 car is going to follow suit. Most of our leaders are now going to be in. 45 miles an hour, DK Brown, a very wide entry onto pit road. He makes it in to the commitment line. He'll bring along the 1, the 8, and another competitor as well. That'd be 95 to Bear.
Yeah, this is all a group that tends to work together pretty well. Mike RPM, DK Brown, as well as, actually Racehead's still on the track, but as well as the Bear, who comes in for his green flag stop. By the way, big beneficiary for the 95 because of that accident. He was sitting at the tail of the field along with Bad Fast Marley, who we mentioned hit real early. Well, he could benefit of a couple stage points now because of the incident that happened a few laps ago. But you see Mike RPM, good exit. DK Brown is going to come out slightly ahead. So this group's going to be all together. But as you look to their outside, coming into turn number 1 and 2, there goes Flash 9, who pitted about 4 laps earlier than these guys. He's going to come out in front and should assume the lead once this cycle continues.
Yeah, he had a big run there so far. Taking a look as we continue to see people who have not made their pit stop there. The 37 of Holcomb, he is your leader currently. But I like the strategy we saw out of the 14. The thing about his strategy, though, is that he'll be on the oldest tires once everything cycles through. And with more than 15 laps to go here in this stage, that could play a factor into him not having the lead for very long once he gets it.
Right, and the other thing, too, and you mentioned 2 tires. Well, if Billy Holcomb continues to stay out and stretch the fuel to try to go all the way, I would not be surprised if we see him go with a 2-tire strategy. At this point, you have to remember, low draft. We talked about it a few moments ago. It's real easy to stick in a draft when you have a big pack of race cars, but when you get to these pit stops, the pack really tends to split up. So with that being said, Billy Holcomb, he comes down now and he takes a 4-tire stop. He's going to be well behind. It's been about 3 laps now it's Mike RPM, for example, as well as DK Brown pitted. So he's going to be miles behind with no draft help, while those guys are still out on the racetrack, kind of progressing away because they're in a draft line. So, of course, right now, if you're Billy Holcomb, the only strategy you can really do is take 2 tires and hope for the best, because I just don't think he's going to really advance himself in a good position staying out as long as he had. And I'll say this too, when you look further back, obviously Flash 9, he's in the lead. I think right now the Flash 9's a sitting duck as you see DK Brown starting to make up ground. Both DK and Mike have the freshest tires of this group that should be battling for the lead coming to the end of the stage, and they're looking real good right now as they cross the start-finish line.
Right now, the Doherty cars have not gone down pit road, though. 37 continues. He was the big pinball of that wreck that did not trigger the yellow in that 47 car. So far, the damage on the front end of that has not hurt the performance of that car. He's behind, but still I believe right now in second place. So these guys, teammates, have not gone down pit road, still need to at least get fuel. We don't believe anybody can make it there. That'd be 9 laps they would have had to stretch. But that 47 car, he's actually reeling in that 37 there, his teammate, with front end damage on the car.
I was going to say, if I'm going to make a correction, I think KB Showtime right after he wrecked came down and pit, so he should be a lap down giving his lap back right now, if I'm not mistaken.
That would make sense, because I was very, very surprised, even with the damaged car. We just didn't see that because he was so much behind there.
Yeah, and he looks a lot quicker. Now, the good news is that when he wrecked, he can still make it to the end on fuel. It's just not going to be the position he wants. He's obviously going to have to improve. You'll see the 37 get out of the way. I wonder if this is a signal to say I'm pitting, or he's going to let him go. No, indeed, the 37 pitting. So here we go. You'll have Billy Holcomb into the pits right now, and you look back on the track. You have Mike RPM, who, by the way, has passed Flash 9 for that position. He should assume the lead. He gets his lap back right now. So we'll see what happens when they come back off turn 4 of the start-finish line. But Mike RPM and DK Brown, they should be 1-2 on the racetrack.
Yeah, coming to right now, currently, I believe 10 laps or less to go there. But the 37 car, we're on board with him right now as he goes on to pit road. Looks like it's going to be a 4-tire stop. So the big thing that would have helped him would have been if a caution flag had come out, but with the pack all strung out, we have a very short field here. I just don't think that was going to be enough. And look, you can see most of the field go by him, and he's barely up to speed there as he exits turn 1 on the backstretch. Sludge had actually assumed the race lead right there, and now the 43 car is going to make his pit stop as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I believe the 43 was the last car that needed to pit. He was not in that lead pack further on back, and he already right now losing the lead. He's not even out of his pit stall yet. So again, the 1 car of Mike RPM, he'll go to the lead, and now this should be a relatively interesting race for the stage win. Obviously, these 2 drivers getting along very well together, DK Brown and Mike RPM. But for the moment, I mean, right now, these guys, and I'm not sure how many laps there are to go in the stage, but I would imagine it's in the single digits. But I would imagine these guys to be patient and not really duke it out till the final lap, because the more you race, the more opportunity there are for those guys further on back, about maybe 2 seconds to make something happen.
Yeah, DK Brown definitely giving the bumper a look to the rear bumper of the 1 car, who I'm impressed Mike RPM. He did not start on the pole, but you see a defensive line. He actually got a little loose, and now here comes DK Brown on the outside here, and at this point, we will have 8 laps to go this time by.
And DK Brown making a good move for the lead. I think Mike's just going to sit back, be content. Maybe he's going to try to save a little bit of gas off DK as well, which could be another thing. They could have taken a little bit of a lower fuel load, which plays into the favor. And again, you know, I mentioned obviously the 37 of Billy Holcomb staying out, and why taking 4 tires and being out that long is not the ideal strategy because of this low draft. But the one perk he has is that he can use lower fuel, and he needs draft time to get up. And you see all the way further back, I mean, he's almost a half straightaway, if not even more, behind this lead pack. So as we come down to 7 laps to go in the first stage, obviously 37 not going to be in the equation, but you can tell how much of a factor it paid off for the 53 and the 1 to take a little bit less fuel and still have the tire advantage over 14 and Flash 9, who sits in the 4th position.
I wouldn't count out some of these guys that are in the back, including our 37 car. I think you're right. He waited a little bit too long, but the benefit that he has is that he is on the freshest tires of anybody inside the top half of this field, and so he can continue to put down blazingly fast laps, where some of these guys we know are going to be wearing out their tires because they've been on them longer than what he has. So that 4-tire strategy call, he can go hard. It puts them on the offense while the rest of the guys in front of him have to play defense.
Right, and I do agree in that regard. It does put him on the offense, but draft is a big, big factor. And yes, while Mike RPM's tires, as well as the 53's tires, are a bit older, you have to remember that, yes, fall off only goes a very long way, but at some point here at Kansas, especially in a lot of the mile-and-a-half tracks, fall off becomes even. And when you're not in draft here, Kansas, you tend to be a bit tight as the battle for the lead. Getting ready, here comes Mike RPM to the inside.
Trying to side draft there.
Indeed, he tried to go for the side draft. Good run by DK Brown on the high side. Might come to squeeze. It'll be DK Brown getting clear off of turn number 4 and into the tri-oval. But to finish off the point, yeah, the 37th vacant ground, he has those fresh tires and the advantage. But at some point, those tires are going to become even, especially here at mile-and-a-half tracks. And he still does have an advantage, but he really needs to get to that 8 if he's going to want to have even a chance. And I just don't think there's enough time left in this stage for him to have a chance of catching Mike RPM and DK Brown as the race for the lead continues.
He's on the back bumper of the 18, though. I think he can get around that second pack. You're absolutely right. I don't think he'll have a shot at the win, but for stage 1, that is. But these guys running side by side, it could slow those guys down as well. With 5 laps to go, that time by DK Brown doing all he can to keep Mike RPM in his rearview mirror. You can see just in the tail end, the 37 car, he's going to go to the inside, the shorter distance. That's not necessarily been the fastest route, but he's making time up with those newer tires.
Well, and again, he's going to have to really work. It's not ideal to pass on the bottom. You've got to really do it on the straightaways, which is going to continue to really hurt his time. But you mentioned Mike RPM and the idea of racing side by side. I think he learned there, Alex, that this group started to catch a little bit when they were going side by side. So needless to say, he decided to just settle back his little bit of contact off turn number 2, and looks to be Billy Holcomb moving up. But
yeah,
needless to say,
saw Flash 9 there, sorry, in the background. As we get to 1 to go in this stage, he had just nipped the wall, so move the 37 car up there. But if the 1 car is going to make a pass, it has to come right here, the last lap of the stage. We'll see what happens as he dive bombs into turn number 1. But the 53 car has had that high run to the outside. Will it pay off? It does. The 1 car did not get in front of the 53. He'll have 1 final shot, 2 more corners to navigate before the green and white checker is out.
Yeah, see, I just didn't like that move by Mike RPM. I think he showed it too early, and now he's not going to be able to get enough draft. Ooh, bounced off the wall, too. Stage 1 winner, DK Brown.
Your pole setter there is going to get the first green and white checker of the season. An extra playoff point added as we get into the first caution flag of the night. This is going to reset the field here. You see the 8 car bringing it home in 3rd. The 37 car from 7th spot is able to make up 3 positions on those older tires. He works his way up to the 4th position. And then I believe Flash 9, the last car in the top, inside the top 5 right there. Guys that desperately needed that yellow flag to come out, that 47 car will be able to fix that damage even more so there than what he had and get caught back up. And everybody able to adjust on their cars a little bit here.
Yeah, and the big thing, too, everyone after that cycle on the lead lap, Bad Fast Marley, who I mentioned pitted the earliest of everyone, well, he finished 10th, which would have been last of stage points, and needless to say, he's on the edge right now, of course, of the lead lap. Big opportunity for him, big opportunity as well for the Bear to get back in this race as well as Aquatati. I think stage 2 is going to be real hectic to start off, especially with the side-by-side racing as we get ready to go green.
We saw how important it was, that outside line. Half the field is starting on the bottom. That means they'll have to merge into the top lane when room is there. Stage 2 underway here at Kansas. DK Brown leads them into turn 1.
real impressive jump by DK Brown. He'll be able to hold it wide open and then work his way up to the top as he works off turn number 2. Mike RPM just hoping he can get a little bit of draft as DK Brown pulling the 8 up high, but he keeps Mike RPM to his outside. And obviously, again, it comes down to trust. DK Brown having a lot more trust in that 1 being behind him than the 8. They come off turn number 4. It'll be DK Brown in the lead, but you see that not going down to the apron. The reason for that, early on with everyone all jam-packed, it's going to be defensive time. Expect these guys to protect the high side.
Yeah, that 8 car really needed to find a hole. That's P. Cola there. Looking in his rearview mirror, you will see nobody is there. That is a lonely feeling, and he's beginning to back up now outside of the top 5. If he doesn't find a hole quickly, he'll find himself on the tail end of this lead pack of 10 cars. DK Brown was a defensive line into turn number 4. He'll actually give up the outside lane, and here comes the 1 of Mike RPM to the point. He'll bring along the 37 and the 2 car for the first time here tonight. Excuse me, that is the 14.
Yeah, DK Brown got loose coming off the turn 4 seam.
Oh, he's going to go for a slide out of turn 2 as well. DK Brown, who had control of this race, now suddenly free-falling through the field.
Indeed he is. He's down to about now the 7th position, and just like Picola, actually that time I think he may have just gotten in line. No, not quite yet, but he's going to fall to nearly the 7th, 8th position. Now finally DK Brown gets in line.
Yeah,
but,
he bogarted his way, almost bullied the 2 car into submission right there. Wasn't able to, but you saw how important it was in his eye to get to that top spot, not lose any more spots and minimize the bleeding, but he's in the wall in front of the 47 car.
Yeah, a bit of trouble right now for DK Brown. He's going to have to recollect himself here. Now, the one thing he has is that he's running on a high side to protect himself. But the more they get 2x2 further on back right now, the more this lead pack's starting to come away. We saw this in stage 1, obviously, where it became a 7-car pack very, very quickly. Well, now it's going to become a 6-car pack because the 47, obviously, on the inside, continuing the race. This is not what DK Brown wants to see. But if you look further up front, obviously Mike RPM in the lead for the moment. You have Billy Holcomb right behind, Flash 9 in 3rd, as well as the 43 and 40 for the first time inside the top 5. In stage 2 is the Bear, who hits the wall, as well as the 18 of Racehead.
Yeah, had dragged the 18 right there, who has to go to the bottom of the racetrack, and he'll lose a couple of spots. Side-by-side battle down the backstretch for the 2 car, trying to enter the top 5.
We have trouble in the back. I apologize. Aquatati went around going into the entry of turn 3. And the tough start for Taddy continues on, Alex.
Yep, he'll actually immediately bring that car down pit road right here. And that is unfortunate, with a lot of damage to the front end of that car. I'm actually on board watching his screen, and it's more about 6 seconds of damage he has. Because of that spin, he'll easily go a lap down here. Thankfully, he'll have the benefit of being down. Might not need the free pass, but another issue early in a stage affecting the 51 car.
Yeah, unfortunate sequence of events for Taddy, and you know he's got to get a little bit irritated with it. You know, talking with Taddy as well, last season he felt that a lot of his mistakes came from changing up his game plan in race based upon mistakes. That's something you really tried to focus on learning for this season. You have to imagine what the damage needed to come down the pit, assess that first. The question is, obviously stage 2, slightly less distance compared to stage number 1. You know, Taddy obviously a lap down. They actually, if I'm not mistaken, fall down 2 right here if he can't stay out in front of this lead group. But the way I look at it right now for the 51, get yourself recompose, try to set yourself up at least up for the lucky dog at the end of the stage, because I think he's going to have to pit one more time when it's all said and done because of that wreck. He came down way too early, now it's time to make it on gas.
Well, that is going to be a deep hole to get out of here. He had to fix that damage there, but that's something, you know, I often talk about as we're on board with DK Brown trying to remedy his free falling that happened earlier in this stage. You are your own crew chief when it comes to online racing here. That's nothing new as we see. Oh, the 43 is in the wall. He gets wall grabbed right in front of the 95, who now checks up. He goes around. Multiple cars are involved. The 2 gets the spin, and the 53 is involved. Does that trigger the yellow? DK Brown comes to a stop, trying to get the yellow flag to come out. It doesn't. Oh, this is disastrous for our pole sitter there. The 2 car as well. The 43 had hit the wall, made a late move to try and dive on pit road. It did not work. The 2 car ran into him, and who was right behind him? DK Brown. 3 competitors now with damage, and I tell you, this also puts in a bind the 51 and his mistake, because now you're going to have multiple cars fighting for that free pass position.
Well, you know what I think as well happened? Because of the 43, and I don't think he exactly made a dive towards the pits, but what happened is he hit the seam just like we saw DK Brown do earlier in stage number 2 at the start, where he had lost the lead, and the 43 just could not control it. Obviously brought Bear along with him for the brief moment. Obviously the 95 ended up being okay, but unfortunately getting the worst after that was Bad Fast Marley, who is now hitting the pits yet again. So now we circled 2 drivers that have had bad luck. Oh, Mike RPM in the wall!
Did just nip the wall, and here comes the last 9 to go around him right in front of Holcomb. Lots of people trying to battle that safer barrier, and so far the safer barrier is winning.
Now you got to remember something else. 43 came in very, very hot, speeding into the pits, so he got a black flag. What that also means is obviously we see Taddy further up. We saw him come down the pits to assess damage. Unless he had a lot of damages here, it could have been a damage in his pit stop. There could have been a chance that he too could have sped. So this becomes a race within a race now, because obviously both of these guys sit 1 lap down on the borderline of becoming 2. And I still think it's too early for these guys to break it down into break it into the rest of the stage without hitting.
Good news is they're actually they are inside the fuel window right there, so the 43 won't have to go in. The person that we are worried about is Taddy, which you had mentioned. He might have to go down twice, but with how the 43, the 2, and I believe the 53 DK Brown, when they had that issue that didn't bring out the yellow flag, they were inside the fuel window, so they won't have to pit again toward the end of the stage. That's going to save them, and perhaps could save Taddy as well if he's the only car still 1 lap down.
Right, and that is huge, and you just got to hope at this point, too, no one else takes 2 tires from this lead pack, because, again, the slightly shorter stage, while it wasn't exactly realistic for Billy Holcomb to do, it was a possibility. So we'll see what happens. So that's good news for Taddy, needless to say. But if God forbid something happens, or even if caution comes out right here, Taddy's bad luck continues to get worse, because he can force either A, take the wave around, or B, just, sit down, lap down, and suffer whatever stage points he can get, and hope he can get the lucky dog for stage number 3, that is at the end of stage 2 going to stage 3. When we look further up, the battle for the lead continuing on. Mike RPM still all over the bumper of Flash 9, and he's trying to pull away from this 37 of Billy Holcomb, who has not been quiet the entire day. This 37 looked that fast on the racetrack all night long.
And something I didn't expect really to talk about much here tonight with how small the field is lap traffic, and that is exactly what these leaders are about to have to deal with, as you see the 51 car trying to nurse it on the bottom of the racetrack there in front, and he doesn't want to go a lap down here again to the 14, but this is a terrible run, a bad luck for that 51 car, as he sees once again the field flash by him.
Well, one thing I gotta wonder, could Taddy be also running that bottom, not to let them go by, but maybe to try to save a little bit of fuel?
That could be.
Obviously, it came down early, but I think the rule is it's still with this A group, if I'm not mistaken. Unless a caution comes out, the maximum amount of laps you can save is 5 laps of gas per run. You can correct me if I'm wrong in that case. But either way, if that comes down to be that way, you'd have to think maybe Taddy's trying to save to get to the end, because it's within that 5 windows. Here comes Mike RPM going with the short pit strategy. Let's see how this pays off.
It'll be 20 laps to go, and that you could be absolutely right there. Taddy trying to save fuel. However, for this series, there is no limitation on how many laps you can save on fuel. So that could go into his factor as well. He might be just trying to wheel it on home as we see the 8-car Cola take a wild ride and slide almost out of frame right there. He gathers it up. But the first of our leader, Mike RPM, is in. He took a page out of what we saw from Flash 9, who continues to stay out on the racetrack.
Yeah, and Racehead now looking to the inside of Billy Holcomb for the second position. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm real surprised, Alex, on that move by Mike RPM. Obviously, we saw how the splitting the stage in half strategy worked out in stage 1 in particular for the 14 of Flash 9, and it didn't work out at all. It really benefited both DK Brown and Mike RPM, but yet Mike opted to go with this strategy. And the big thing right now, with Mike RPM being on the racetrack, he's a sitting duck. He has absolutely no help right now. He's all by himself. So with that being said, yeah, he'll be faster temporarily, but he's not going to have as much help as these guys when they come down as a group and come out of the pits and are able to organize themselves and run back down to one car for the lead.
We'll see where he is in relationship. Right now, he doesn't want a yellow flag to come out. That would seriously shuffle all the field if something were to happen right there. But Flash 9, it looks like he's actually going to go down pit road this time by handing the lead down to the 18. Wow, the 47 car really hot getting on the pit road. Hopefully he didn't get a speeding penalty right there in front of his teammate, the 37 of Bill Holcomb.
Yeah, I think 47's going to be okay. That was a real good entry, in my opinion. That was as good as it can get. But we'll
Hopefully.
find out. Billy Holcomb, you mentioned, coming down as well. And this is going to be the group to watch, in my opinion. I think this is the right time to come down. You'll have the tire advantage. You'll be able to go with the shorter amount of fuel. I mean, if I'm anyone else that stayed on the racetrack, DK Brown, or excuse me, rather, Racehead with a problem. He just went through the grass and had to recollect himself. I think he spun coming into the pits, but he heads down for his green flag pit stop. Mike RPM, he's crossing the start-finish line right now. And again, he's going to have an advantage over this 14 for a little bit. But I'm eager to see what happens with this draft. And Flash 9 getting a big, big gap over the 47 to 37, Alex.
So the 8-car would also went down pit road, flashed by as well. 9 able to merge back onto the racetrack there. All these green flag pit stops is going to allow some of our competitors that were a lap down, multiple laps down, at least to get one lap back. You see the 18, he is going to be able to merge back on pace as well. But Mike RPM should have the lead, and he does currently right now. Everybody else, where they run, they should be on the current lap. They should be able to finish on that current lap. So we'll see what happens to some of those competitors that were a lap down. I don't know the relationship to where the 51 is in relation to the 2 as well as the 43. But those were the guys that we were concerned about as far as having to race for that free pass. Because with the lack of yellow flags that we've seen here tonight, you need not to be multiple laps down or have 2 cars one lap down, because somebody's going to have get their lap back and somebody will not.
Right, and I'm looking at this group further on. I'm not sure if the 8-car of GTRP Colligator has pit yet.
Yes, he has.
He has, so he was one of the first people to come down. So this is where it's going to get interesting. Obviously, CP Colligator currently in that second spot. So if Flash 9's able to catch him, these two can kind of tangle up and start to make the ground. The big thing I'm looking further on back is Racehead making a big move back there for the 4th or 5th spot. He's trying to get around the 2 teammates. He has the freshest tires right now in the field, and he's trying to lead the way. But you need to get in line right now. You need to draft off someone. That's going to be the only way you're going to be able to run off and catch this one car. And if I'm Flash 9, honestly, I'm trying to get around this 8 as quick as I can. I'm trying to have the 8 follow me, because we know with that tire advantage he can get there. And this is exactly what they're doing right now, it looks like, Alex.
Yeah, it looks like at the stripe it'll be 10 laps to go in the stage. If Flash 9's able to complete that pass, we'll go on board or take a look back from the 1 car there. And where that white car behind him, that'll be Flash 9. We noticed the difference between these guys, how Mike RPM had decided to pit earlier than what we saw. They kind of flip-flop strategies of what we saw in stage 1, with the 14 staying out later and the 1 car deciding to come in earlier than what we saw in stage 1. It's been reversed, and now that 14, I believe, has time to get around that one car. We're not talking about one lap for extra tires. We're talking significantly about 3 or 4 laps, which is a lot on times 4 wear.
Indeed, on NASCAR heat, it is a lot, and I mean a lot when you look at it. And right now, I mean, a really, really good run for this 14 of Flash 9, who, again, played the opposite strategy and learned in stage number 1 from his mistakes, stayed out longer for Mike RPM, and now he has a chance. Again, I'm real surprised. Mike RPM, he opted to break it in half, and in my opinion, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I'm real surprised that he opted to go with that strategy in stage 2. But of course, in the big picture of things, we saw obviously DK Brown go on and hold on for stage number 1. But Mike RPM, right now, he's battling obviously to continue that consistency point of getting points within stage 1 and stage 2. He got 9 in stage 1. He'll get a minimal, if he doesn't drop all the way back to 8, of 9 here in stage number 2. But the battle for the lead starting to heat up. And I'll tell you, Flash 9 is coming and the laps are winding down. This is going to get real hectic.
There'll be 6 laps to go here as they round off turn number 1. And I'll bring in lap traffic as well. The next car in line is going to be that 51 car who desperately needs to stay on this cycle of whatever lap he's on, because if he goes down one more lap, it'll be multiple laps, and he's not going to be able to get that back. We'll take a look at the 14, though. He had a look to the inside of the 1 car. Didn't complete it there, but I think it's just a matter of when, not if, he gets around that 1 car.
Right, and again, these tires starting to come back to even, especially when you're within the bumper. But if I'm the 14 right now, I'm not exactly going towards the bottom, making a dive bomb quite yet. You see Flash really trying to get to that left rear corner panel. He's not trying to put himself in a vulnerable position, but he's just trying to set himself up with the run. And you have to remember, these two, experienced as can be on their own respects. Mike RPM, obviously, in the Pro League. Flash 9, real seasoned veteran, especially in a lot of NASCAR heat events. Here he goes with the dive bomb for the lead. I just don't know if he's going to be able to clear. No, Mike with the good run off turn 2. But Flash knows better than anyone else as well how to make these runs, especially being around Mike real comfortable. I think Flash is going to set it up here for a final lap dive bomb. I think he's just trying to side up the 1 car right now.
I think, though, they're going to have to get around, that 14 is going to have to get around that 1 car, because that 51 car, lap traffic, play a factor into how these guys race one another there. That 14 uses that 51 as a pick, but he is all over the back bumper of Mike RPM. The lap door winding down, I believe, just 4 to go this time by. And that 14 all over the 1.
I think right now, again, move has to come in 3 and 4. And the other thing to mention, too, you have to remember, we saw Mike RPM make the move too early in turn 1 and 2 on the final lap of stage number 1. So if I'm Mike RPM, you have to play it 2 ways. Obviously, if you're the 14, you want to get offensive and make the move in the final corner. But if I'm Mike RPM, too,
oh, here it comes.
Pinch the 14, indeed, here it comes. I think this is going to work out for 14 this time. Next move, no, Mike RPM got a real good run.
And he's going to try and use that lap car as they pick there. They're going to flash across the start-finish line 3 wide. The 14 trying to sniff the draft off the back of Taddy. Here comes the 1 car with the defensive line entering turn 1. He's been able to keep hold of the lead in front of the 14, and Taddy's going to go another lap down here.
Yeah, and the lap's still winding down. The 8's starting, by the way, to slowly close up and get into the picture. Taddy, though, moves up to the high side. That'll at least help the 8 of Colligator a little bit to try to get the draft. Oh, Mike RPM on the wall. Here we go. This is going to be the lead change. That's going to put Flash 9 out in front.
It does there. A mistake made by Mike RPM is going to relegate him back to 2nd place, and there's Flash 9 to take the lead away. 1 lap to go in the stage. You see the 8 car trying to get there as well. Mike RPM, he had such a good run. I think he was going to be able to hold him off just enough by not having that outside line given to the 14, but that mistake allowed Flash 9 to flash by him, and with it, a green and white checker flag in hand. Stage 2 winner, the 14.
What a setup there by Flash 9. And again, if you can't get the move, you can't get it to clear, you force Mike to make a mistake, and he put him on the defensive, and Mike tried to keep it up tight towards the wall. The older tires, and you have to remember this thing too, Alex, as well. With Mike being in the lead, he tends to be tighter compared to the guy behind. It's kind of reverse physics to real life. Needless to say, Mike got tight, bounced off the wall, gave the 14 an easy stage win, and obviously if you're Mike RPM now, you're pounding yourself a little bit because you've come close twice now in stage number 1 and 2, but just haven't been able to get it done. Let's see what happens in stage number 3.
The good news is Taddy was only going to go down 1 lap. That was not 2 laps like I had thought hand, so he'll be back on the lead lap with the free pass. Everybody going to take this time to make some necessary adjustments here. What have we learned in stage 1 and stage 2? You don't want to be in that outside wall because time after time after time, we see that outside wall win. I've never seen a driver come out of it. They're okay. The lack of yellow flags as well here tonight, I think that's also going to play into the strategy here. You can't bank on a yellow flag coming out if you have trouble. You need to have a good, clean race when the time comes down to it. We are now on the 3rd and final stage of this race. Green flag.
Flash 9 with a great jump. And Mike RPM getting through the gears pretty solidly as well on the outside, but that only really senses good news for the 1 in regards to once they come off turn 2, he'll be door-to-door with the Gold Gator for that 2nd spot, which means Flash 9 will be able to drag the 1 up into turn number 3. The 8 sending a heavy dive. He's going to try to slide job up into the 3rd spot. They continue 2x2 on 4th on back. But for the moment, it's been the 2 drivers that have been the class of the field in stage 2. Flash 9, Mike RPM, position 1 and 2 as they're trying to strike 5th further on back.
Oh, he made contact with the 37. Oh, he's on the wall! Hard at turn 2!
Don't think he's
Bear
going to
in the 43 as well is a victim. And that
got the caution.
Brings out our first caution flag of the night, controlled by the computer there. So the 95 car, Bear, with a big hit to the outside wall, it collects the 43 car, and our 3rd caution flag of the night is out as a result.
It looked like Bear there when he made the move. He either got a little bumper tap onto the seam or he was already spinning on the seam. But needless to say, everyone collected around. But, you know, real surprising, this one bringing out a caution. We've seen a couple of harder wrecks throughout the day that didn't bring out a caution. So, needless to say, I guess you could say the big winner as a result is the Bear in that transition, because that would have likely been the end of his race. When we get ready to go back green, how about this? Tire strategy. A couple guys staying out and maybe taking 2. Racehead goes to the front as we go back green.
That does shuffle the field there. Racehead in that 18 up to the point for the first time today. We'll see what happens as everyone migrates into turns 1. There goes Flash 9 and the 1 of Mike RPM to the inside. They desperately need to clear as there's contact made further back in the pack. Racehead in a world full of hurt on those older tires as 37 Holcomb bounces off the wall. Here comes DK Brown with nowhere to go. He'll find himself in line behind the 18. Cola to the outside lane as well, and here comes the 47 of KB Showtime saying it's money time and getting there, trying to get to the top 3.
Yeah, based upon the reaction to turn number 1 and 2, I think DK Brown Racehead forgot to pit, which is why he instantly just gave up the lead and moved up to the high side to get out of the way. And honestly, makes him a little bit of a winner, because when you play a strategy like that, it does not tend to work out well in restarts, but for the moment he stays in the top 5. But honestly, for the first time today, Alex, when we look at this field, we haven't really seen it really get spread out in these first 5 laps of the stages. But for the moment, we have about a 5 here with 6-car breakaway as Racehead goes up the track a little bit for the lead.
Oh, and he finds the wall. He'll be passed by the 95 of Bear, who's actually been able to rebound quite nicely. He had restarted to tail end Charlie for that last restart. He's made up 6 positions there, all the way up to 5th place is that 95 car. Not going to take him very long to bounce back from a mistake that he had right there in the center of the corner there. Meanwhile, the 18, as you had mentioned, who had not pitted, not going to work out for him. He is going to fall all the way outside of the top 5, barely hanging on inside the top 10 currently. As we see a 3-car breakaway at the front of the field, led by Flash 9 in the 14.
Yeah, and obviously right now, if you're the Bear, you're trying to get up to this 53, trying to bring this line back up. And, I mean, we're starting to see the 8 trying to make a move. I don't like this move by P. Colligator here. I know you want to get up, try to control the race, but the more side-by-side you get, the more slower you get, and the more you bring this field back into the race. I think you got to be patient, try to pull away with having the advantage of handling with less cars compared to the group that's going much faster and tighter behind. Honestly, if we continue to see something like that, I think we're going to see this group come back together real quickly. You have to remember, DK Brown's fast. He's been fast all day long. And it's in stage 2, cost him a chance at the stage win, obviously. And now he's trying to rebound. He won stage 1 for a reason. I think he's got 2 bad fast cars right behind him. And by the way, don't want to jinx it, but Taddy, he's come up from the picture in the 6th spot, but it is bad luck to be turning around along with the 95s.
So a little bit of daylight between 3rd and 4th place as everyone begins to find some breathing room here for stage number 3. The 14 of Flash 9 running a familiar number that's deeply involved. Oh, we got a car on the wall hard. It is going to be Bear. He bounces it. Let's go back here. Yep, that's Bear, who had just made a rebound up inside the top 5. He bounced it hard in turn 2. In the wall, tags another victim. Bear is out. We are on board, and he had just DNF'd. So that's going to be unfortunate for a pro leaguer who just quit while we were on board right there, or had some type of connection issue right there. We'll have to get more on that story, but that is tough luck for the 95.
I think Bear just kind of had enough at that point. He'd been bouncing off the wall a good portion of the day and had problems. I think he found a bit of a handling problem there. The car perhaps a little bit tight. And again, that's what happens here in Kansas. You're running a high line. You're all up in the draft of the car. And there's an aspect of quote-unquote bubble.
Big crash! The 47 is hard into the outside wall, turn 1. He collects race head as well.
And the caution has come out 2nd time here tonight. You know, you got to remember this too, by the way, Alex. This is a group that did not have many cautions last year. If I'm not mistaken, it was only 2 cautions, maybe 3, when they were in the B Customs group last year until Texas, of course. Texas saw 6-7 cautions in the final race. But needless to say, 2 cautions early on. Not bad, might I add, for Kansas. But this is going to really shake things up. This is going to bring a whole new perspective to the race, especially if fuel comes into play here in stage number 3.
39 laps remaining here tonight, and 30, usually about 29 is what we expect. They'll go racing with about 36 laps. So I'm with you there. This does play out into a potentially a different race, one that could bring fuel into the picture as well. They're going to restart with about 6 laps of fuel they would have to save. I don't expect anybody to try and do that, but we've seen crazier things happen, especially with a custom race setup here. And have we seen the last yellow flag? We don't know. Green flag is back out.
I think we have seen the last yellow flag, and I'm gonna correct you there. I think that 7 laps is very easy to save here, especially on 2X fuel and tire wear. So I think that we could see guys trying to mix it up, especially guys that have been further on back and haven't been able to make up much ground. But for the moment, Flash 9, he's in the lead. And good move by Mike Garfield getting up to 2nd. Gotta see though if the 8 can get up, PT Bownader again.
They're on times 4 wear though. I just wanted to remind you that it's not 2, it is times 4 wear. So they've been able to, I believe that's what I was told was times 4 wear. So we'll see. It's still gonna be a lot. That we'll see what happens. Put back in line. But
I find that I think it's 2X only for the reason that the other groups are in 2X, but not just that too. It wouldn't make sense if they had 1 pit stop on 4X in stage 1 and 2. But to me, I think it's 2X. Again, I could be 100% wrong, But either way, and I agree with you, if it's 4X, then yeah.
Oh, Mike RPM's in the wall. He stacks them up, trying to protect that outside lane, but everybody had to check up because of it, and here comes DK Brown to take advantage of it.
Yeah, DK Brown trying to set himself up, but how about Aqua Taddy up to the second position? Again, I can't emphasize enough, what a rebound for Taddy right now, Alex. You know, He's had such a tough day. The first two stages, accidents not going his way, and all of a sudden, you know, we could be looking at Taddy, you know, in the picture to win this race. And I know the other day he lost a real tough race that he felt like he could have won on the final lap, and ultimately got booted out of the way. Perhaps some vengeance for this 51 in the late going of this one.
You know, there's something that to be said about sometimes all you need is a little bit of anger to help fuel your passion right there. And perhaps that's exactly what we're seeing, a little bit of anger out of that 51 car, going to help get him up to the point and challenge for the lead for the first time today. And I am with you there, Ward. I believe this could be the comeback of the race. That 51 car doing a great job so far, running along in the second position, especially after all the calamity he's been through.
Indeed, another person I want to give a lot of credit to. He had a composed stage 1 while he wasn't in the lead pack, and obviously we saw his incident in stage 2, and that's SMK Sludge. He currently sits in the 4th spot, and honestly too, I mean, again, a very quiet day compared to the 1 as well as the 14. I mean, this is going to turn out, again, I know a long season to come with everything in terms of the system, but results like this for the 43, a good, quiet, composed day, and a good result, even if it's not a win, it's considered a good day when you're trying to pursue the championship. And SMP Sludge, I think someone that's going to be an underdog in this championship race.
Flash 9, he looks behind him, he'll see a brigade of bow ties, lone blue oval up inside the top 5. But he's piloting a number that is familiar to many, especially on this game. That is Clint Boyer, and I bring that up because there was no bigger name at Kansas Motor Speedway than Clint Boyer. We saw what it was last year when he announced his retirement here, the homecoming he brought here, the fans that brought to their feet lots of 14 gear. This is my home track, so I've been here multiple times, and these people love their 14 gear, and they love Clint Boyer. What a day would be to get that 14 car, even if it's virtually, to get into the victory lane. We've seen him already grab one checkered flag with green and white checkered stage 2 win, but Flash 9 doing all he can to try and get Boyer's name to victory lane in his home track. Behind him, though, Aquatati wants to say something about that. He goes to the inside. Will it be enough? Almost an aggressive slide draft. I just don't know. You're right. Trying to pinch that. Oh, he's in the wall. Flash 9 and the 1. Taddy taking the lead. Here comes Sledge, and it changes just that quickly. Taddy to the point, and the 43 with him.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I don't know if that move was ideally what Taddy wanted to do, and then he got stuck on the seam. And very similarly to what we saw Mike RPM do off of turn 2 in stage 1, he just did to the 14 of Flash 9, which spreads out this pack. And now for the first time today, we've seen Aqua Taddy to the lead. Mike RPM making a big move down the straightaway. He'll move up to P2. All of a sudden now, for the moment, it's a 4-car breakaway pack. But this is going to bring 2-3 cars back in the mix to see Racehead, as well as I believe Captain Showtime further on back in F47. Flash has been fast all day long, and the 18 trying to creep under him. I don't like that move either. I think you guys have an opportunity right now to stay in line, get back up through the pack. As the 18 with a slide job bounces off the wall, can't stick it. This is not the race they need if they want to get back to the lead back.
I wonder if Flash 9 might be a little unhappy with that move made by the 51 to try and get the lead. He's going to try and rebound here, but behind him, as they continue to bounce off the wall, the energy that's needed to try and move forward, the pace in the car just is what it is, especially with low draft. The good thing for him is these guys get racing side by side as we see the 1 car and Mike RPM try to do so. That could allow Flash 9 to get back up to the point.
Good defensive move there by Mike RPM to get in front of the 43. And I'll tell you, Mike got forced into that situation there. He wasn't clear of the 43, so he had to go to the bottom. And again, I mentioned learning. We obviously mentioned Flash 9 learned from that first stage and how he set up his stage 2 victory. Mike, he learned a little bit perhaps from that stage 2 loss, and he just learned right there. He's got to get defensive now. We're at this point in the race where every single lap matters, every single corner matters. The 43 was not afraid to push the envelope on the high side and try to get around this one car. So I think we're going to start seeing the battle for the lead get real defensive, and this race starting to move up towards the high side of the racetrack here towards the end of this one.
Meanwhile, the battle outside of the top 5, you see Flash 9 lose a position. He just bounced off the wall in turn 2, and he lost the spot to the 18. That's not going to help his chances of getting back up to that lead pack, but he settles in behind the 18 car, perhaps trying to work with some coopetition, if you will, working with your competitors for a common goal, and that could be in order to get back up to the point. Caddy, we've not talked much about him up in the point. Does he have the car to keep that one car behind him?
I just don't know as he continues to go down to the apron. I know it's a low draft, Mike RPM. Eventually he's going to get a run, and he's just going to be able to get to that high side. I think Taddy's got to get more defensive here. He's got to allow the runs to come to the bottom. As here we go, he left the outside open. 43
back up
with
front. He did save that there. 51 car goes to the bottom of the racetrack, but I believe our pit stop's happening. Yes. Taddy's going to take this opportunity to go down pit road. Want to quickly mention Pete Cola, also one of the first cars on pit road, but Taddy going to dive on pit road. Now the question is, when does everybody else decide to do so? Mike RPM will inherit the lead. We've been talking about when he decides to go down pit road all race long. This could be crucial for him and his chance to get to victory lane. When he decides to pit could very well decide if he makes it or if he loses spots once he comes off pit road in relationship to Taddy. He stays out one more lap.
Right, and I'm interested to see who's still playing the fuel strategy, if anyone is further on back, because that could play a little bit of a factor, although, if I'm being honest, I don't think anybody is, as Taddy still in his pit stall, so we'll see what happens. Now he's just coming out. So we'll see how this works out for Taddy. The big thing, though, is the 8 car well ahead. So either a two-tire call or maybe a strategy that just didn't work out for Taddy in the pits. So we'll see what happens. This is going to really mix things up. But I think this group up in front, they're going to come down when Mike RPM comes down. So I think Mike right now, he's leading the brigade. He's just got to hope everyone else executes behind and follows his lead. And
the good thing for him, despite being on older tires than Taddy, who did take 4 right there, is that these guys are still in the pack. So the draft is still going to award them. They're still going to be running faster together than those guys that are single file. But it looks like right now, Billy Holcomb and the one of Mike RPM, they're going to decide to bail out on strategy. Hopefully not to one of them. Excellently executed getting onto pit road. Mike RPM and Billy Holcomb are in.
And this could have been the strategy that either can win a race or lose a race. I think this is the perfect number if you're Mike to come down on. You know that Taddy was the first one to show it. Now you've got to play around that strategy, utilize that tire advantage. Now the question is, when does Flash 9 pit? I still honestly think Flash 9 is not out of this race quite yet, despite the couple incidents we saw here a few laps back here in stage number 3. He's still trying to chase down the 43 car, but honestly, if there's anyone that can come back and rebound and hit his pit entry perfect and gain a second or two, it's Flash 9, so I'm eager to see when he comes down for this final stop.
He's running along in the second position in front of the 47 KB Showtime. And also, I'd like to know if anybody decides to gamble and staying out there, do we see a 2-tire stop? These guys, we calculated that they were about 6 laps on fuel. The tire window is going to be different for these guys on a custom race setup here. So are they asking a bit much out of those left side tires? If anybody decides to play that strategy there, they would only have to hang on for 9 miles.
Well, I want to make one point real quick. I think you said the 8 had pitted. However, I don't think that's the case because I'm looking at DK Brown as well as the 8 really running inside, which to me symbolizes these guys are trying to save fuel and tires. So to me, it's going to come down to fuel saving versus who has the better pit strategy. And obviously you see Aquatati well out in front of the 37 and the 1 right now, who are on the same strategy. Now I guess really it circles the point of who can fuel save the best and who's on the right strategy. I'd like to think right now, if you're DK Brown, you're on the right strategy. Again, I mentioned it when that caution came out. I would probably be saving fuel in this situation. He's also got some help behind him, but you also have to remember too, yes, this is custom setups, but here in Kansas, left front tire and right front tire really do come to play when running laps. So the real question may not be fuel. It'll be, do they have enough tires to make it to the end?
You see the 8 car there. If I did indeed misspeak, my mistake, they were so far back, I had assumed that they had already pitted their Ward, but you are absolutely right. They might be able to play the long game here and stay out on strategy. That forces everybody into trying to make sure that they have the best pit stop getting on and off pit road as well.
And I'm looking into turn number 1 and 2. I mean, DK Brown's doing a real good job with the gear, just kind of minding his own business. And he's trying to utilize a little bit of the pull he has from the 8. But the big thing right now, these guys are down the backstretch going into turn number 3. They have about a half a racetrack to play with, which is good right now compared to Aquatati and Mike RPM, who are just going into turn 1 and 2. So needless to say, these guys are on the mark right now. If they can get it done, we may be looking at a big strategy for a race win, as we have a couple guys, looks like the 47, the 14, and Flash 9, just exiting the pits right now.
Right you are there, Flash 9, who had been perhaps the most consistent best car here of late. Winning back onto the track as we watch the 8 car on board with the 8 car. The 8 and DK Brown, our pole setter, have not yet found pit road, trying to make it all the way towards the end. Our leader currently, though, continues to be the 43 car. Actually, he's on pit road now. So that's going to be Sludge, piloting that famed Richard Petty Motorsports number. That's going to hand the lead back over to the 8 car. And as you had mentioned there, 8 car on our tracker, he is in turn 3. Taddy, who was the first car to go down pit road of this lead pack, he is in turn 1. So well over more than half a lap the advantage to the 8 car, but still a lot of laps to save as far as fuel.
Indeed, and the other thing too, you mentioned Taddy come down the pits first. Well, now he's got his hands full. Mike RPM, Billy Holcomb, they are to the bumper of the 37. Taddy's got to play defense now. Not only does he have to go as fast as he can to try to get these guys fuel saving, but he's got to protect, because this may be the battle for the lead. As Mike RPM looks to the inside, he's going to clear the 51. Billy Holcomb now trying to peek to the inside. Could this be the race for the win? I don't quite think so, but either way, it's going to be a good battle for a podium spot.
They're going to need it, especially if the yellow flag comes out as well. And I'm like you there. I think the 1 car made a great move. Mike RPM, he responded perfectly to when Taddy decided to go down pit road there about 2 laps later. That allowed him the advantage on those fresher tires. That, coupled with being a fast race car, allowed him to pull away a little bit from that 51 car. Here comes the 37 as well. But the question is, will it be enough to respond to the fuel-saving strategy of the 8 car of Picola and DK Brown, who are running along first and second?
Well, the question is Picola going too fast? And I know it sounds a little bit weird. I don't know if Picola has a wheel and a shifter. I don't think DK Brown, if DK Brown's on a controller, which means he's solely relying on a gear. But either way, if Picola is going with the shifter, I don't know if he's going a little bit too fast right now and burning up those tires as well as the fuel. I mean, to me right now, based upon his throttle points, he's doing a lot of coasting, which is good. But tires, again, could really come to play for the 8. I don't know if it's going to come from 53, but it's going to be a lot easier because of the capability of him being able to put in the neutral of PT Colligator, or Picola Gator, to have a little bit of advantage over that 53 like we're seeing. I just don't know if he's going to have enough fuel if he's too aggressive with it.
7 laps to go. That's a little less than 14 miles to have to make it toward the end. And that 8 car, driven in real life by Tyler Reddick. You know, the last time the 8 car actually went to victory lane, you have to go all the way back to 2007 with Dale Earnhardt Jr. at Richmond. That was back when DEI was still a thing. I'm like you, though, that seems to be a big gap between him and DK Brown. Right now, currently, let's set the stage for you guys here. A couple of cars have not gone down pit road. The 2 cars that we know that are playing the fuel game are the 51 and, the 53 and the 8. The car that we know can make it on fuel and tires is the 1 of Mike RPM. He's run second most of the day so far, looking to try and hope that those guys in front of him don't have enough to make it on fuel.
And
there's
right
DK
now,
Brown. He's still on the back stretch there. He's still about, or excuse me, he's on in turn 1, while the other guys, turn 1 now, while the other guys are in turn 3. So he still has about half a lap an advantage.
Right, now, Alex, I think 9 laps is savable for the fuel again. I think it's the tires that it's going to really come down to. So it's going to really come down to how these guys have their setups pulled together. But honestly, right now, there's going to be a little bit of urgency. Obviously, see Mike RPM Aqua Taddy as Billy Holcomb looks to the inside of Taddy for the 4th position. You see these guys all calm and composed right now. But I think at some point, once we get in the final 3 laps, you're going to start seeing some racing. These guys are going to either feel like they're racing for a win, or they're going to feel like they're racing for 3rd. They have nothing else to lose.
Well, that 3-lap mark is going to be right here. We're actually getting ready to go to the 2-to-go signal. That's just 3 miles for the 8 car, who is in his own zip code. As he flashes across the start-finish line, there's nobody in front of him, no one behind him, and that could not have a better feeling for you as a race car driver.
Well, it's interesting, too. You're looking at the 8. He's back up to running the high side, so either really confident is Pete Colligator that he's going to make it on gas and tire, or he's trying to go as hard as he can before he runs out of gas. But as he comes off of turn 4, could be leading us to the white flag, Alex.
1 lap to go for this 8 machine of Pete Colligator, who all day long was trying to do something different. When everyone went up high, he would be the one to dive down low. On a strategy call, he decided to take tires and fuel early in the stage and not come back down, leaving everybody to try and fend for themselves. And now, by himself in his own zip code, the season opener here at Kansas Motor Speedway belongs to P. Colligator. He's off of turn number 4 with no one in sight. That's a beautiful thing to see. Already doing his burnouts. Why not burn it down? He wins the season opener at Kansas.
And look further on back. It looks like DK Brown is out of gas. This is going to be a race for 2nd. They're coming to the line. It's going to be DK Brown 2nd. The race for 3rd. Mike RPM barely holds on to the podium spot over Billy Holcomb. Aqua Taddy comes home 5th. As everyone else crosses the line further on back, but a good top 5. And again, can't emphasize enough, obviously fuel strategy paying off for GTRP Colligator. But how about a rebound for Taddy? Again, tough day to come home with top 5 result. Real good night for him.
The 8 car for RCR Racing celebrating here tonight. Did a great job there.
A
good rebound for our pole setter, DK Brown there. Unfortunate last night. Go ahead.
I was saying, I want to make a correction. That fast Marley came home 2nd.
Oh.
He was also on a strategy. I did not realize him being in between.
Yeah, so good run for that 2 car. Yeah, we hadn't talked about him much at all tonight. And he did a great job there as well. So congratulations to that 2 car there. But all praise to the 8 of Picola, who wasn't the fastest here, but was fast when it counted the most. I'd like to take a look at that margin of victory. I don't know. I've not seen a margin of victory that big in a while.
Yeah, that's a real big margin of victory. Nearly, actually, it is more. It's about 12.8 seconds. So that's pretty solid. That's a good commanding lead. Actually, correction, 12.2 seconds it is from first to second. But again, I mean, the strategy just so perfect for Pete Gator. I knew fuel was going to come into the mix, Alex, but I really did not think that when it was all said and done, the 8 was going to be able to slightly hold on and make it on tire, but yet he was able to do it. He was able to make it count when it mattered. And again, GTR Pete Gator picking up his first win on the season, and arguably his biggest one, because again, those are 5 crucial playoff points moving forward.
Gonna welcome in our league owner there, Taddy, who joins us here tonight. Taddy had a good run here so far. Don't know if you want to be talking to us right here, but I just assumed that you joined the party, so why not have you there? Interesting race to begin the season, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, man, those stages, I just couldn't get any luck whatsoever right out the gate. The Bear on lap 1 of the whole race, I don't know if he missed a shift or what happened there, but I ended up with a damage for all of stage 1, so I had to ride around and just try to make it to the pit stops, but by then I was 8 seconds behind. And then stage 2, I don't know what the 18 was thinking. He hit the wall, bounced down low, and let everyone by. And then when I was coming up, he come up, tried cutting my nose off, so I went to go low and pass him, and he followed me down low, and that was that big wreck that happened. So P6, though, on the night. Besides fuel guys, I would have had a podium finish, so I'm not too mad about the outcome.
Well, our leader and winner of tonight has just joined us here, so thank you so much there, Taddy, for bringing in Pete Cola. Pete Cola, man, when did you decide that call to not go down pit road would be a race-winning call?
Well, we had a couple people in my party said they were going to go for it, so I decided to hop back there with them. And I remember we were talking about it. I said, I don't think we're going to make it. And then we were talking, well, we're going to make it. Taddy made it 5 laps last stage. It's only 6 this time. So we just decided to go for it.
I mean, that was very much impressive. I had been noticing how you would always try something different on every restart. You found yourself at the bottom of the racetrack. At one point, there was nobody behind you. I mean, just talk about your night there, getting to that position there, and what it was like racing the season opener at Kansas.
It was awesome, man. I felt like I had a pretty fast car. I got third in both stages, but it was kind of like a curse at the same time because I had to start P3 on the bottom, like you were saying, and if you didn't find a spot up top, you were quickly going to the end of the line. But I'm freaking pumped, dude.
And obviously, Cola, too, you mentioned, fuel when you first brought up the strategy came into the mix. You weren't quite sure what exactly was going to happen, but then you tried the fuel strategy. And we kind of talked about it a little bit on the broadcast, both Alex and I, in regards to, yeah, it's a stretch, but it is possible. Was there any emphasis about tires being concerned? Because I know left front, right front tire tends to really come into play here at Kansas compared to most mile and a halves.
Right, for sure. All day while I was practicing today, I'd be in like the single digits, high single digits, whenever I'd get done with the fuel run. But whenever we did a practice run right before the race, it was about 15 or 16, so I was getting better than what I had all day, and I figured just going that much slower would probably help it last. And I don't even think my tire light came on at the end.
Well, there you had it there, Ward. That's exactly what you were talking about there, how it was more tire fuel, but he was able to save enough.
Yeah, that came down to a big factor at the end. And I do want to ask you this before we move on is, Cole, obviously for you, you talked about in the past, especially last season, about how much you wanted to win one of these things and have the strategy finally play into your favor. How does it feel to finally now officially have it play in your favor and you get the victory that you much desired?
Oh, dude, it feels so good. I hate to come on fuel strategy, right? But I'll take a win anytime I get a win.
Well, congratulations there.
I expect to be in the back most of the times, so let's get it.
Congratulations there, Picola. You have a lot to celebrate there tonight, so we want to thank you for your time, and congratulations. We look forward to talking to you more as the season progresses.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for y'all being in the booth, too. Y'all are a killer duo.
All right, so second place, a guy that kind of flew under the radar there, Ward, we were just talking about there. Bad Marley, we hadn't talked about you at all tonight. Did you yourself think you would be able to get to second place?
Man, I tell you what, if there was trouble on the track, I found it. We had some issues with the car to begin, and we were flirting with that wall too much, and then other cars get stuck in it, and there was nowhere to go when you're running in the back of the pack. So kind of worked on it, and then we worked up to P4 and got caught in a wreck, and we ended up not getting a caution flag. So that kind of changed everything for the strategy, I should say.
But you were able to, at least the stage 3, rebound there. What point in time did you think about saving enough fuel and tires, and when did you figure out that you could absolutely make it to the end?
Well, after I was able to see that Taddy made it 5 laps. I said, well, I can make it 6. So from the right from the jump, when that last caution came out and we had 36 to go, I started saving right from the get-go, and I found that the real speed was at the bottom of the track, not the high line.
That's where the speed was.
Well,
At
you did.
what
Oh,
point
go ahead.
for you, I apologize, I just want to ask, what point for you did you feel of the fact that you had to try something different? Because obviously you mentioned stage 1 and 2 didn't exactly go the way you wanted it to. You had to pit early stage 2 because of an incident stage 1, obviously, as well. Same thing that happened. At what point would you say in stage 3, outside of the last caution, you said, hey, I have to do something different to get myself out of trouble and give myself the best chance and opportunity of a good result?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Stage 1 and 2. I mean, we just kept running into trouble. I mean, and we were racing hard, not trying to do any fuel strategy or anything. And then stage 3 was racing hard and racing our way up to the front and got caught in another one. So when that 36 lap stretch came at the end, it was like, well, I can either try and pit, and I know some other people are going to try, and take a chance of getting caught in trouble again, or I can go ahead and try with them. And we ended up making it P2.
Well, definitely the type of season to start off, the position to start off the season with a bang there. So congratulations there, Bad Marley. Hope to be talking to
Hey,
you more.
I appreciate it. I kept hearing a lot about them Rick Ware cars tonight, and I was like, I can't lose to a Rick Ware car. So so I had to do what I had to do.
Exactly there, especially with the 2 car. I'm gonna show my bias for a little bit that Brad Keselowski is my man. So I was in my heart, I was rooting for you. I'm sorry I didn't notice. Unfortunately, just with how the game is, and you can't see a running order. I'm sorry that we missed you as far as that conversation for saving fuel because we had it down to DK and Picola, but not you. So a pleasant
I,
surprise.
I went into stealth mode, but shout out to my Captain Patton and for drafting me and whatnot, and good start to the season, and we'll be there next week.
All right, that is Brad Marley, second place there tonight. Want to bring in last, but certainly not least, of our podium finishers, DK Brown, our pole sitter there. DK, you had a good stage 1, kind of went away from you in stage 2, able to rebound and walk us through your night. Walk us through what it was like there all tonight. Um, you had a good, what do you call it? Obviously, a good enough car to get the pole there. What was it like racing at a mile and a half against these guys?
I guess, DK, I have to ask for you, is that steering wheel and shifter still in the mail or no? And just lead me for a moment through the conversation. Obviously, you mentioned you had a stage one victory, bit of an up and down. Obviously, stage two didn't go the way you like. I'd have to imagine the conversation with the party. A lot of guys like to go out there, be aggressive, race for a win. I mean, how much discussion was there outside of just you going in? Hey, this is a strategy we got to play to the end, and deciding if you were going to race or not.
All right, well, that's DK Brown, your pole sitter there tonight. Congratulations on that podium finish. Hope to be talking to you more of the season. Well, Ward, I'm so glad you could join me here tonight. I think we had a great season opener there. It was a lot of twists and turns there getting toward the end of a 134 lap event. But in the end, fuel strategy definitely playing out, and that 8 car able to get to victory lane.
Yeah, I mean, a big win for Peak Gator again. The strategy playing to his factor. And we knew at some point fuel was going to come into play. The question was really the tires, not as much the fuel there in that final caution. But we saw a good mix throughout the race of guys being aggressive, being patient, and really trying to set themselves up for the end. And again, I emphasize big picture thinking. And tonight saw the 51, or excuse me, the 53, as well as the 8, have the big picture. The strategy comes to play, no cautions. They're able to get the result in the 1 through 3 position. Of course, going to mention a big win for Peak Gator. But again, I cannot undermine as well. A day, for example, like Aquatati, getting a rebound to a 6th position result is huge. Obviously, mentioned that Fast Marley, who had a very tough stage 1 and 2. He was able to come home in the 2nd spot. Kansas is a game of, where there's a lot of ups and downs. You got to set yourself up towards the end. We obviously saw Taddy towards the end get real protective of that high side against Mike RPM, as well as Billy Holcomb. But it was all said and done. The big picture fuel save came on to win. And of course, again, I mean, I can't emphasize enough, when you're thinking that direction, you're thinking towards not just a race win, but also a championship. And in the long run, a simple race like this, in which ended up in a win for Peak Gator, could aid him in the future towards a championship campaign.
That's why we all like to tune in, and that's why you yourself at YouTube have to watch. So congratulations to Picola there for tonight's win and season opener for the A Custom Group for GC Sports. Hope you guys join us next week. We'll be back at it again. It'll be Thursday night beginning at 8:05. Join me on as we bring you all the live action for tonight's and throughout the season's events here on NASCAR. For everyone here, I'm Alexander Ned. That's Ward Burton. I'm so glad you could join me in the booth there, Ward, by the way. I appreciate that. You're awesome. But from all of us, and a special thank you to Taddy for letting me do this. I hope you guys have a fabulous night. We will see you next week at 8:05.